Hello there, welcome to another edition of the Open Governance Initiative. We're coming to you straight from the Central River Region, CRR. And right about now, we are at the residence of the governor of this region, Mr. Abbas Sanyang. We'll, of course, continue our discussions that we've been having across the regions on the town hall meetings and the Technical Advisory Committee meeting that is currently ongoing at these different regions. We've reached the Central River region, and we're also going to discuss similar issues with the governor of this region. My name is Fatu Eli Kamaloshi, the presenter of the OGI, and at the moment we have the governor, in fact, already seated to get this conversation rolling. Governor, you're welcome to the OGI, and many thanks for having us in your residence.
Thank you so much for having me too. Welcome.
Well, we're meant to understand that the Technical Advisory Committee meeting ended, of course, about yesterday. And we just want to know briefly what are some of the major highlights of this particular meeting and why this is so important in your different development strides.
First of all, thank you very much for having me. And we can't overemphasize the significance of this town hall and the Technical Advisory Committee meetings. During these Technical Advisory Committee meetings, we give each of the technocrats of the region, who are the representatives, the directors, the commissioners, etc., to present about their performance and challenges of the first quarter of the year. Because the 2020 presentation have already been done sometime in November, and the first quarter started in January, and we are in April, so they could all report on the activities they have really conducted within the period. And that was the purpose of the session, and it was very successful.
It was successful. Would you tell us, have you been a little satisfied with the reports you've been getting from the different directors? Of course, I believe you are the chair of the TAC in this region, and they owe it to you to pretty much update you on their undertakings. What's your impression? Actually,
it's very impressive because we can really observe that most sectors, if not all, have done tremendously well, despite the limited resources they have and the challenges they are undergoing, doing their job. So basically, I think the most serious components of it, or challenging ones, will be deficiencies in their work in terms of resources and amenities that they need.
In terms of resources, break it down for us here, because we do understand that, you know, transportation and even finances can be a hurdle here. What are some of the resource constraints that they've put forward?
First is the office space of most senior officers in the region. Accommodation is a problem. Where they are residing, accommodated with their families, is a problem. Coupled with the state of the weather and other situations. Now, more than that is mobility. Most senior officers in the region, particularly the security, are greatly handicapped when it comes to mobility, like the police commissioner, having only one vehicle to run the whole two sides of the region, north and south, which is about 639 communities. All other sectors is the same, most of them are without vehicles. The soldiers, the SIS, thank God, the SIS have motorbicycles for their outreach ones, and then their directors, each of them have mobility. But talk about immigration, talk about the drug squad, all other security forces are having challenges with that. The agri department, for example, whatever they need for the office use, they have to go to Banjul. It's too far. Like tissue papers, toilet rolls, and so on. You have to go all the way to Banjul to get all those things for your offices. It's a big challenge. So if we're talking about decentralization, I think we need to be very serious with it. And being serious with it means to decentralize resources that could make work more effective and actually realizing the outputs of the sectors.
How have you been taking this matter on? Of course, I'm sure when they see you, they want to believe that you can at least alleviate some of these concerns as a voice for the people here. How have you been taking that on?
Actually, the Technical Advisory Committee meeting, since I came to CRR, what we used to do is, after every sitting of the Technical Advisory Committee, we consolidate all the reports, and we look at their achievements and their challenges, summarize them in a way, and we pack up our bags and shoes and go to Banjul. That means we go to their ministries, we go to their line ministries, and we go to their head offices to discuss with them about the situation that their institutions are operating in the region, their challenges, their difficulties, and we discuss it face on to see how you could help ameliorate their problems and to make their output more or their performance effective.
Most of these issues are recurring issues.
Yes.
We keep hearing them over and over again.
Yes.
And what happens is when we have such meetings, also maybe the TAC, People believe that. What happens is the stakeholders converge, yet nothing concrete comes out of it. What can we expect to be the outcome of such a meeting?
We are always with the expectation that things will be solved. That's the expectation of everybody. But notwithstanding, we will keep on highlighting, because you need to flag your operational situations all the time. For those authorizing you to operate under those circumstances, to be also aware and to be constantly aware of it. Sometimes issues become so overwhelming, people tend to forget easily. But if you flag them constantly, it reminds them. And normally, the Technical Advisory Committee sittings is quarterly. And before we make the consultations, we make sure it is about end of year, where we go to give the reports to almost all the sectors.
So you've been constantly raising that flag?
Of course, yes, we do. We go to all institutions. If sometimes you wish to even invite the heads of the ministries to come over to the region, and we expose those issues to them.
From your own perspective as governor, what would you say? Of course, we've heard from your people, which would, of course, put to you shortly. But before then, just from your own perspective, what would you say are the major concerns affecting the livelihoods of your people?
That could be enormous, because it has been a rural area which has been, or which is so underdeveloped over time. If you look at the rate of implementation of programs, let's say the expansion programs of electricity. We thank to the new government currently that have greatly expanded to greater areas, and we are proposing sometime by end of April, there will be the final end of CRR, which is from the Same ends to Diabugo Batapa, will be electrified. That's our hope. And the electrification system is going to be finally launched sometime within this period I have mentioned. Now, electricity is a concern. Water is still a concern, despite the 21st century. People, the outcry for water is still there.
And I tell you, we witnessed it ourselves firsthand. The water is kind of like juicy red, orange or something.
Well, that is based on the type of soil where the water is being harnessed. Or
But is this really conducive? Is this
no,
perfect
it's
for
not. It's
consumption?
not. We need a treatment center to be able to have this water clean and pure.
Is that been done?
Not yet.
What's
Not yet.
happening?
We call complaining to NAWEC almost every now and then. Water samples are taken, and then they are trying to resituate, in other words, to relocate the pump station. I think if that happens, like the pump station in Bansang could be located towards Sololo and towards YBK ends, that will also be able to supply. Because if you look at the topography of Bansang, we could say it's almost all laterite. And being laterite, underneath the soil, we can assume that it's going to be red. But there could be other contaminating factors that I may not know, because I'm not a geologist, no hydrometeorologist. But then I'm sure the Ministry of Water Resources are aware, in fact, not maybe, they are really aware of the situation.
So in the meantime, we expect these people to drink this colored water?
Not necessarily. It's treated, because if you let it stay for some time, it sort of filters itself. After filtrations, you'll be able to use it. It becomes clean and pure.
Are they really
and it has
that?
been quite for a while.
They've been doing that
Yes,
filtration as well?
yes.
All right, and you're
assume
hopeful as governor that NAWEC will do something about this?
Certainly, yes.
What we'll do, Governor, is we'll put a pause to this, because we spoke to the people and we were at the town hall as well, and we've heard some of their concerns. We'll look at that briefly in this short video, and when we come back, the governor would also dilate on what's been done to alleviate some of these concerns. Stay with us.
My name is Malamin Sankare, the Regional Police Commissioner, CRR.
Commissioner, tell us, in your own perspective, what you foresee from this meeting and why you think it's very much important for the community.
Actually, it's a very important meeting. First and foremost, I have to thank the government of the day for bring about a dialogue between public sector leaders and the community that we are serving. So it's very important. It is good that we interact. They know what our personal standard status are, so that there will be that partnership between the community and the police in particular.
What are some of the security challenges that you also encounter in this community that you're trying to explain to the community for their understanding in terms of your intervention?
Actually, the enormous security challenge that I am facing here is mobility, logistic. You see, logistic is the uppermost challenges I have. You see, and the second one probably will be limited human resource. You see, that is available. You see, to take care of all the operational activities within the region.
I am Pasiet Sise, the Chief Executive of Jajambure Area Council.
So tell us, have you ever seen a dialogue like this, and why is it so important in strengthening your work for the people?
Yeah, I've never seen a dialogue like this, and I think it's very, very important because we have the duty bearers and we have the taxpayers, and I think people should know exactly why are they paying tax to councils and where their tax is going. I think it's very, very, very important, but I just urging them to make sure that this process continues.
What are some of the common challenges that they share with your office, and how do you think an event like this can help you, of course, project your stance in dealing with those issues?
Yeah, I think they have achieved a lot from this forum. They have had the challenges that the council is having. They were even surprised to know the tariff of councils. Could you believe the tariff of councils? We have been using those tariffs for the past 30 to 40 to 45 years. And I think that those suit the actual market of today. So I think it's very, very important for the taxpayers themselves to know exactly how much they are paying to council and what can council do for them after receiving taxes from them. Whether the amount collected from them will be able to be plowed back to them or not. Because according to the Local Government Act, 60% of revenue should go back to the people. So is it enough to plow back that 60% to the taxpayers? So I think today was an open discussion whereby the taxpayers understands where the council is. So I think it's very, very important.
I am Mr. Srifo Kanyi, the Principal Nursing Officer, Bansang Hospital.
Talk to us about some of the major undertakings here as per the development of the health sector in the region and how the people are bracing up to this development.
Yeah, I think if you say the region, it may be a wider scope, but I will talk about the Bansang Hospital per se. I think Bansang Hospital is a regional hospital and is built since 1938. You see how old it is. But today, visit Bansang Hospital, you look at the structures. That means that the leadership have a force aside in terms of maintenance, in terms of availability of other commodities. So that people who are using these commodities, anytime they use it, they feel appreciating. I think that's what we are doing. In terms of infrastructure, if you look at it today, you see we are constructing a lot of roads within the hospital, and then we are making a lot of accommodations to be provided for our senior doctors, so that when they come, definitely they will be much more appreciating to stay within, so that the health, as we said, because the providers are very important. So when their environment is not very conducive, they don't want to stay, because as we all know, come this month, next month, the environment will be very hostile. So I think we are doing a lot together through the Ministry of Health, through the government of the Gambia, through our hospital management board, and then the hospital management. So really, if you visit the hospital today, even the environment will be very much attractive.
Welcome back to the Open Governance. My name is Fatu Ali Kamlushi, your presenter for this very program. And like I said in the beginning, we're still continuing the regional consultation that is currently ongoing. And of course, we've just seen what members here in the Central River region had to say at the town hall. And we also had short interviews with some of them as well. And we have the governor himself of the region, Mr. Abasanyang, and we've been discussing some of the issues that are emanating from recent discussions they've had at the TAC, but also now we're going to talk about what people have been saying at the town hall. And before we get into it, Mr. Governor, I'm pretty sure that this town hall is very much important in consolidating peace, democracy, but also strengthening dialogue between stakeholders and, of course, the people. Tell us, how is that coming along?
This is an amazing situation. I really admire and cherish it, and I wish and hope it's a continuing situation. I remember several years ago it was happening, but it really stopped, but because it never made much impact. But now it's starting, and I hope this time around it will change the situation. You see, this engagement with the community, it brings out things that you've never expected to see or know. Like yesterday, some people bring out situations at their health clinics or health centers that I'm heartbreaking. Now, they complained about only one healthcare dispenser there who goes to attend to women in labor, and the same person will be going to the outpatient, and the same person will be going to dispense drugs.
The same person.
The same
all these
person
units.
moving through all this. Communities, elders come in to say they are begging for water. Water to drink. To drink generally for their domestic purposes. They go to the village gardens to fetch water for their jars at home. Those things should have been history by now. But thank God, this even about an hour ago, I was discussing with a minister over this water issue. And I said, he said, we got an approval for some boreholes. 7 boreholes are going to be dug. And then there will be a drilling machine crossing over to the. It was like he was telling me a story. Because this was exactly issues I've been thinking about during the town hall. Where and how is this situation going? A borehole to be dug just in about a day or 2 and people to access water within a week. How long does it take a person or a government to give to its people? So those people have been waiting for 50 years to get that done for them. I mean, it's so hard draining.
It is.
So those type of situations come out during this type of engagements. Now our office have been open 24 hours. People will be coming every day that we need this for water, that our borehole has this is what we need, we don't have water, we drink the same place with our animal, we do the, I mean, it's a constant thing. But thank God, about 50% or 60% of all those, since I came 3 years ago or 2 years ago, are almost addressed.
I mean, we've also heard it for ourselves firsthand. We've heard them lament these issues. We spoke to them and they said the same things. So let's look at the areas right now that are pretty much suffering from this inaccess. Are they really that much? And how are you, I mean, how soon do we expect them to access the facility?
No, that's what I'm saying. About 60 to 70% of those affected areas have currently got boreholes dug, and we're waiting for the system to be installed for them to have a clean drinking water.
And we expect this to happen when?
In the shortest possible time, about 2-3 months, I'm expecting it to be done.
All right.
Now, the most in it and the most difficult community among them is Renero. But today we are rejoicing that Renero at least have clean drinking water in their community.
Interesting. And the issue of electricity is another issue. The women, we've heard them complain how their IC products, all go to waste, which of course they depend on for their own income.
Not only that.
Yes.
Not only for income purpose, but for your own survival.
Now it's even, in fact,
we are here, all of us are here, but we can see the weather, for instance. What do we use to cool the system? Fine, we can use normal water, but we need cold water at least to be able to cool yourself. And they are complaining that definitely, yes, NAWEC is doing their utmost best to serve the people. But yet, there is so much to be done to the satisfaction of the people. Yes, CRR, URR is most high temperature areas in this country. During March, April, May, temperature is just what? Abysmal. Now, what do we do as a people or as an institution to support them? At least to make electricity stable. With that, we can have at least their income levels can improve and their health status can be improved.
Governor, we're also aware of the fact that your region is so huge and the people, they have many concerns, just like other regions we've also visited. And security, we understand, is a challenge as well. Tell us, what has been the role of the security task force in mitigating some of the challenges, which of course I will break down later.
The security task force in the region has been part of the technical advisory committee. They are all part of the technical. We set it here and it's part of the technical advisory committee. Their responsibility is enormous because we meet frequently. We meet more frequent than the other units of the region because at any emergency, the whole security task force is called. Both be it health, be it agriculture, be it crimes, be it whatsoever. We call them immediately and they will all report for us to discuss the way forward. Now, it means security has been a cross-cutting issue, and I really commend my security forces working under such strenuous circumstance or situation. They are doing extremely well.
Interesting. We've also had a very interesting issue here, which of course has to do with the foreign herders or livestock rearers that come into the country and leave off on their livelihood of the people. They call them, there's a name I had to write.
Walankes. They are called
Walankes.
Walankes.
We're constantly hearing about these Walankes. It seems to be a cause for concern for your people. How are you taking that on?
Necessarily, we can't say as a cause of concern because the Walankes have been coming here, we can say from time immemorial. They are herdsmen, and these herdsmen move about. We know in our agricultural science or in our general science, in schools they will move upland when there is rain season, and they will go lowland when there is dry season. They go upland to move away from insects, pests, and others that will disturb or create diseases for them and give them foot rots and so on. So they move upland. But when the rain goes off, they go lowland in order to have their grazing moments. This makes the animals move about within the area. Now, these Walankes actually emanate all the way from either Niger, Senegal, into Gambia during these periods. Because CRR North, or CRR in general, due to the fresh water, there is green grass available throughout the year. So these animals would come into CRR to go and feed on this green grass. The challenge is, besides the insecurity, because they depend completely on our resources. The animals feed on our grass, they feed or they drink them from our boreholes. They cut our trees to feed them. This is the most difficult part because they will cut our trees, all the tree branches down just to feed their animals.
Some also allege that they in fact take their animals along.
Imagine somebody who comes into a village with about 400, 500, 600 to 1,000 animals and is living in the village. What happens? Animals that are not tied within in compounds, they will move along with the other animals out of the country. But sometimes the securities do a great job by moving to the border, and when they are moving, to make sure they track them down.
Do they do that?
Yeah, they do. I remember last year, a security officer of the army tracked down 36 goats at the border, and they returned all of them to their rightful owners.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that's interesting. And another woman...
And sadly, they don't pay any tax whatsoever. Whatsoever. They don't pay any tax. They don't pay any tax to Gilma. They don't pay to the council. They don't pay to livestock. They don't pay to anybody.
Yes.
So these taxes is just, these people is just free, completely free.
And we've also heard the revenue collectors highlight the same point that you've mentioned.
Exactly.
And also looks like the people needed an explanation from the revenue collectors in regards to the methods in which they collect their duties from them.
That's why we organizing the Technical Advisory Committee. Want to make all the members of the Technical Advisory Committee au fait with the system of taxing in the country. Now, this will help a little, but again, we try to create the avenue for the tax collectors, both the customs, the GRA teams, like the the immigration, the councils. We go on a tour on every district within the region to discuss.
How often do you do this?
Almost.
Or you did it a time ago?
No, we did it a time ago, but that was in reference to ID card processing.
Okay.
Yes, but this time around, we do it intermittently depending on the needs, when the needs arises. We take a regional tour, that is once a year, but again, we go intermittently to make sure we sensitize our people on major issues that are happening in the region.
So they've been educated
Education,
on this.
but then this has not been happening with the tax collection component.
Okay.
Yes.
So the compliance level is still a problem here in the community?
Not quite. The compliance cannot be a problem because one of the advantages we have as a region is, as reported by GRA this morning, CRR definitely have always, at any tax collection time month, we overshoot our target. So obviously we can say we are paying our taxes as we should. Some communities may be retaliating to pay their taxes to council due to other factors, like if a community says since time immemorial, they have not benefited anything from the council, they have nothing, not even public toilets, not markets, not road maintenance, not water, nothing absolutely. So they say we are no more going to pay
They've been
tax.
adamant. And some of them are doing that actually.
Yeah, they are trying to do it, but we can't accept it because payment of tax is not optional.
They say they're also paying to different entities. They pay in their duties. Sometimes a GRA comes and sometimes another entity
These
comes.
are different.
They don't understand how this works.
No,
yes.
They are talking about, they understand, but they're talking about the timing. Okay. Like if it is a new business being established and you have your corner shop, your youth, a Gambian youth, with a little investment, GRA comes in and they calculate how much you should pay, you pay. Before the day ends, area council comes in, they want to calculate for you to pay.
It's too much for them.
If you cannot pay, you start having problems with them. They say, we'll lock your shop down or we'll take you to court. So all these things, I mean, this is the progress of investment by the local Gambians.
It's quite
Yes,
unfortunate.
yes.
But also, before we go on another break, we are aware of the constraints at the crossing points as well. Just yesterday, whilst we were going about to visiting the sites, we saw how, they were struggling to get the ferry, dock in there. And your people also complained about the challenges at the different ferry crossing points here. Governor, how are you taking these matters on?
See, to be honest with you, this type of ferrying we are doing in this country are absolutely obsolete. These are not modern systems of ferrying that people should be using in the modern generation.
They're old and rusty.
Very old. They are very old. I think Ports Authority should have been working on methods and means of improvement. I think there are sectors in this country that needs a complete overhaul of their system and operations. To be honest with you, look at the rural people. They feel we are satisfied with whatever we get. No, we can't be satisfied with whatever we get. We want to get the best of everybody is getting, equally with anybody else. So ferries, we are having some. This ferry they brought here just last year, it's been the ferry that has been operating with Farafenye, Yiletenda, Bamatenda ferry crossing.
Okay.
After the bridging, Senegambia Bridge construction, they moved to CRR. Now we also have another ferry crossing at Basse. We should have one at Barajali and we should have one in the Nyaminas.
Okay.
That is one in Kudan, that is the Kuntaur one. The one in the Jisadi ends is another ferry crossing, approximately 5 ferry crossings. That is to enable the navigability of the country and to allow us to also maximally utilize the natural resource we have, that is the fresh water. Now, we can't bridge the whole end, but again, the ferries that we should be also using should be available 24 hours. Because not only the health component, agriculturally, generally, it's important that the ferries work as they should. But notwithstanding, they are also doing their best, to be honest, yes.
Before I go, would you say, generally, taking into consideration some of these issues we've highlighted, does it boil down to lack of adequate resources or proper management of these programs? And I'm sure the attitude of the people will come later. But what would you say is the major issue here?
I would not love to comment on that one so much, but I think I would want to caution Gambians to be committed to service and demand of the people. That's the way I'll put it. Committed to the demand of the people. There are resources available at times. But because they can't consider the demand of the people as significant or as whatever their thoughts are, that makes it retarded and unfunctional most of the times. So these are the biggest challenges we have. Commitment, patriotism are significant in every actions that the Gambian people need to do.
We'll put a hold to that and go straight to visiting some of the areas that we went to see where government is, of course, undertaking major development projects, just to see what's been done and what those people working in these different sites feel about these different projects. And when we come back, we'll look at those issues as well with the governor. Stay with us. Your name, please, and who are you in this?
I am Usman Mbalde, working with Maru Farm as an administrator.
Okay. Usman, tell us briefly your partnership with government in this endeavor.
Definitely, we have a good relationship with the government because, as you can see right now, that was a project that was laid down when these tractors comes in. So after the project was launched, so we won the project with the government, and the government ended up handing the tractors, 10 tractors to Maru Farm, and those are the tractors right now we are using to help a lot of farmers to have plowing.
So far since you started, talk to us about your tons of harvest and how is it coming along?
Definitely, if you look at the field, it's a big land, and we have almost every plot can have you up to 7 tons. Every plot, that is 100 by 50. And so if you look at that, that is going to be roughly around 30 to 40 tons of rice that we have every season.
Every season. Talk to us about the equipment you use in this processing, because we are also looking at mechanized approaches, and we see you have lots of machines here.
Definitely, we use the tractors for plowing, and there's another. But in the tractors, we have different types of hose. You have the mountain, you have the arrow, and you have the rotavator. So these are all types of hose that we use in the field there to make sure that the plot is properly done before we call the women to come and do the service, transplanting aspect.
So far, since you started, how many bags of rice were you able to produce?
Last year, the production we harvested, we end up getting almost 6,000 bags of rice. So, and part of it was sold to World Food Program, which was given to the government.
How are the Gambian people really receiving this idea of feeding from the homegrown rice?
Definitely, that's a good question, because if you look at it, in fact, sometimes you will see customers will call you before packaging, in fact. So definitely the Gambians love the rice a lot. Yeah.
Do you think you have the capacity to meet the local demand? What do you think it will take?
Is definitely is something that is very critical, but then I know that we can make up the local demand, because if you look at it right now, with our rice production and other farmers who are growing outside us, we call them outgrowers, we buy the rice from them. So definitely we will try to meet up the local demand.
Yes, I am Kausu Fofana of WASU, VDC chairman, secretary. Yeah.
Tell us what exactly is happening here at the moment.
Well, at the moment now we are trying to finish up the transplanting of the rice. Some are starting the weeding, yeah, at the moment.
Talk to us about the process involved here and what mechanized tools you use.
Well, here, the time we start, plowing, from the plowing, we try to bring up the power tillers. Yes, village power tillers. Because our community, we have some power tillers, but not as much as as they can satisfy us. So we went to the agriculture. So we cried there. They gave us another power tiller to add it to our own power tillers to make it more fast. Yes, that's the time we start plowing. Yes, thank God we were so quick. And then after the plowing, then by then the seeds are grown. Then we start transplanting. Here it is 36 hectares. Yes, so it is divided into 0.25 plot or 0.5 plot. Yes, so you give it to youths. They come when you are ready for plowing. Then you give it to the youths. They help you you pay them. They transplant everything to you. Yes. Then thank God, this rice valley chain. Those people also help a lot. Fatajos project. They gave us seed at the time. They gave us fertilizer. So you don't see everywhere is green. Yeah. So we really thank them very well for the help of the agriculture station.
Where's your market? Who are the direct beneficiaries of this?
Well, market is our problem anyway, because if we cultivate everything, Lumo is our market, it's our local market. We don't have special market for our production. That's our problem. Yes.
Welcome back to the OGI. It's been an interesting conversation here with the governor of the region here in the Central River region, Mr. Abbas Sanyang. And we've seen, of course, what the people had to say during the town hall. We've also heard from him some of the major highlights at the Technical Advisory Committee meeting, but also now what's been done to alleviate some of these concerns. Still here is the governor himself, Mr. Abbas Sanyang, and we've just seen the areas that we've visited. We've visited Maro Farms, a very ambitious project coming up quite well. Tell us, how are the people really receiving this particular project, and how important has it been in alleviating, of course, our food constraints? Or, of course, we know recently we've seen rice hiking rise in prices, and things like this are important in alleviating some of these concerns. How is that coming along?
You see, rice prices are hiking in your urban areas and other ponies, and not CRR as of
Not
now.
here?
No.
How much is a bag of rice
with
here?
our local rice. Our local rice, still a kilo is 25.
Is it?
Yes, our local rice. You see the bags down, that's what they used to fill in their local rice. And in each bag is about 80 kilos in each bag, which is approximately $2,000. Now, if you look at 50 kilos, if you want to buy that at about 25 per bag, how much is a 50 kilo now? It's about 1,350. It's about that.
Yes.
So if you're talking about 100 kilos, it's about $2,600 now per 2 bags. $2,600. Maru Farms is selling their bags at $650.
For the
which is
25
kilo,
kilograms.
and that's about 1,300 or 700, 1,200, 1,300 for a 50 kilo bags, and that has been since last year. The reason is Maru Farms is setting the pace for Gambia to understand that it is possible, we can do it. And if we all come into it, we will have it far and far cheaper than we. Now, but alhamdulillah, we can say this year, the trend of people demand on plowing during this dry season, we are hopeful.
I mean,
That,
exactly.
Yeah,
because
we are very hopeful that
Yeah.
things will change.
So what signal does that send here in really boosting local production and, of course, giving these farmers the required machinery and support needed to yield bumper harvest?
This is what the government should have been thinking like since 50 years ago. This is exactly, the government is now realizing this is the method, and this is what the government today is doing. The PPA or the PPP is really working. Musa is a gentleman, and he is a model and a symbol in this country.
He've also talked to us about how much they're working with government and, you know, how they're benefiting from the equipment that has been given to them by government to make sure that...
Not themselves benefiting as of now, but they are making people really benefit because it's accessible. When they came, they allocated the tractors to about 3 in the North Bank, 2 or 3 in the north of CRR, and about 4 in CRR South. Now, but yet, those 10 tractors, the demand is still high.
In fact, they need more.
More. If you drive out here now to go to Pachar to get a tractor to plow in Janjambure, you have a problem. Because there are farmers queuing for Pachar alone. There are farmers queuing for Sapo, farmers queuing for the Nyamina. That's Tuba de Masama and other places. All these places are plowing, farming during the dry season because of the, I mean, there is a lot of potential in this country.
They're employing also these local women and all these, you know, youth in the area there.
That's
which
contract
of course,
farming.
Yes.
They're contracting them to produce, and they buy their produce automatically, not in loans. You produce, they buy. But again, Musa is giving, subsidies to them in terms of plowing, in terms of fertilizer, in terms of even monitoring, and you know
and also collaborating with the other farmers there in the local farmers.
So at the end of the season, he buys all their products,
their products,
process them, and sell it back to them.
That's important point.
And that's what we need.
Yes,
I can tell you, I can bet that most civil servants who come on trade now don't buy this Western rice. They come to Janjambure, and then we supply them.
In fact, as we just heard, the demand is always on the increase. He's always receiving calls because people want more.
Yeah.
But then they've mentioned a very interesting point that the hippos are really causing havoc to dry rice fields. I mean, they're not even producing enough at this point in time, but they're facing these constraints. And we have to be very careful there.
You see, this life of the world is symbiotic. You know, live and let live. I think that has been a culture. You live and you let others live. You see, hippos live in the rivers and they feed on the banks of the river. Feeding on the banks of the river, there have to be growth along the banks of the river. Now, if the only growth along the banks of the river is rice, what do we expect the hippos to do? Without any prejudice. I'm not saying it is a right for the hippos to eat our rice. It is not. But again, they have a right to live. But notwithstanding, there is a project coming that we are planning to curb all these problems. We are trying to, EBA is coming with a project, and they're coming with a facility in the north, whereby we'll be attracting all the hippos towards that end, and we'll be cultivating the feed of the hippos along those banks, and there will be a fence or infrastructure to be able to control and manage the hippos within those areas.
So looking into alternative solutions.
Very, very soon.
Because we can't kill the hippos.
The everything has been so far done. It's just the implementation of the project that is withholding. And hopefully, I'm sure very soon they will do that.
Hopefully that works, because like you said, live and let live. We can't kill
honestly,
the hippos.
we can't be killing all the hippos.
Yes,
we can't afford
that becomes detrimental.
You see a hippo, have you ever seen a full hippo?
I don't think I've seen
honestly,
a full hippo
it's a very big animal just to be killed, for real. It's a very big animal.
That's interesting. But also, whilst we were coming out of there, we also passed by the Sankole Kunda, the project there, the construction of the dikes currently ongoing there. But unfortunately, we didn't meet the site supervisors on ground, so we could not really go into it. But how many months is this supposed to last, this project?
The project should end for 13 months. We launched it last year, sometime in the August, September, I'm not sure, October. So approximately it's about 8 to 10 months. So it should elapse in about 6 months. The project should end.
It should end.
They should complete and hand over the project in that period.
And what do we expect to be the outcome of this project?
It's not going to be possible, because the problem, they have been undergoing so many problems. Currently, during our investigations, we realized that they need a lot of machineries to be able to complete that. But sadly enough, as well, these projects have been contracted and then subcontracted, also subcontracted. So this type of subcontracting of projects creates a lot of handicap or a lot of problems within the implementation. And during our last monitoring visit to the site, we discovered that there have been 2 contracted individuals who are not actually living to expectations because they haven't completed their work.
Interesting. And what gets to be done?
And that's why we are calling or summoning the whole institution sometime next week in the office, the general management, to discuss about the means and methods to make sure this project is completed on the expected time, because it's creating a lot of other problems within the area. The people didn't cultivate their rice for this dry season, and hopefully they may not do it during the rainy season if the contractors don't complete their work. Because a lot of machineries in the fields have been not completely demarcated, destroyed. The canals are leaking here and there. So a lot needs to be done in order to enable these farmers cultivate their fields.
That being said, what would be the expected outcome of this project once it's completed?
That's going to be a very great, because it's about 260-something hectares that is going to be having cheap water supply, because all the pumps this time around are not going to be fuel. They're going to be solar. So I'm even so happy with it, because I know how much money is spent at least at one pump station for a season.
Interesting.
A season of production is huge. It's huge.
We look forward to that.
Yes, so if all these pumps are going to be producing, going to be capable of pumping as necessary the fields, we can expect at least 3 productions in a year.
That would be massive.
3 productions in a year, because you can produce all through the dry season and be able to produce in the rainy season. And thank God that the government have produced at least 50 machines. Plow is going to be possible on time. Fertilizer is here on time. Seeds are here on time. And they are varieties that are very quick. 2 or 3 months, 3rd month, early months, you will start harvesting. So if that is the case, we can expect that we can harvest every 3 or 4 months.
We visited Wasu as well, still on farming. We've seen how beautiful, very huge and all green, yet they have 42 hectares of land. They want to exploit as well. Have they put that to you, and how is that coming along?
No, actually the government through projects have already given the machineries to go and clean the canals. And if all those canals are cleaned, we are hopeful that there will be easy flow of water during the dry season. Now, fields are already prepared. The rainy season, we don't need the canals. The rainy season water is being maintained in the field. All we need is early plowing, seeds on time, with good varieties. That's all we need. So we are hopeful that the things will go through within the seasons.
I mean, we can't say the same for Kunta or Fulakunda. These people, these farmers there are envious of the Wasu. And we saw for ourselves how they're pretty much, struggling to set things, rolling. Are you aware of the constraints they're facing there, from irrigation, the lack of equipment? The rice fields we went to at Fuladu, Kuntaur.
No, the Fulakunda rice fields, the canals are all clean, and the water flow is just okay.
They said they have...
That's where I made my seedlings. Yes, that's where I made my seedling bed for my rice field, just by the bridge.
Fuladu Kuntaur?
Yes.
Interesting.
Because the reason is, because that's where they were doing the nurseries at the time. So I asked them to do my nurseries as well. Because where we do the nurseries here is the challenge, as I have just explained. I'm a victim of the circumstance that because of this contractors working there and it's so slow, we cannot do our nurseries. We cannot do any preparations for our beds or for our fields. We have to do most of it far away and transport it to some of the fields. The only field that is operational for this season is the prison's rice field.
But I mean, you are not aware of the fact that they facing irrigation challenges there.
Maybe
at the
it's
Fuladu
water
Center.
controlled, I can say.
They
no.
have yes. They said
The
the
water
water there is not balanced. You know, the land is not leveled, so they really have a problem.
There have been prepared lands. Now, if the land is not prepared enough for the seasons, obviously it will not be able to produce as expected. You need to prepare the land to be low to allow the water flow to be okay during if it is tidal. If it is also even canal, it has to be also higher, or the canals have to be higher than the fields. And the old canals are not high, they are almost a par with the fields. So that means the flow of water has to go so high to allow it to flow into the fields. But if the canal is higher than the field, little water in the canals will just flow down
to one area.
Exactly.
And this is the same point they're putting to us. The problem here is they meant to understand that they are just farmers and they are not they don't have the expertise in these areas. So this is where the role of the authorities
the government is doing its utmost best. To be honest with you, the extension service we have in the north is excellent. In the south is CRR extension workers on agriculture are really excellent.
We met
all we need is few little inputs. The services will be done.
You know, we met the personnel from the Regional Agricultural Directorate, and they've made us understand that they're working with them to make sure that some of these issues are alleviated.
Yes.
But Governor, before we go, of course, it's been great having you talk to us. Tell us some of the major undertakings that you're embarking on here in the region that you're so much proud about and you can't wait to complete so that the people will start reaping the benefits of these developments.
No, as we said, electricity being a problem, expansion situations is a requirement. Most communities in the region are without it. Water service is still an innate problem, and we hope it to improve. As I said, 60% of all those problems are almost going to be solved in the next 2 months. And I'm sure before the end of the year, we can assume that about 80% will definitely be achieved. We are now even going out to scout which areas have still in water problems. Initially, we don't need to move. We just see them in your face, the places that are having problems with water. So if those boreholes or water supply systems are completed, we can say most of our problems will be addressed. And as we said, we need the improvement of our hospital system. The health system needs a great improvement. Bansan Hospital needs massive support. As you just heard, the electricity system.
We understand they're putting solar panels there.
They are doing everything possible to make sure that we have 24/7 in the clinic. Their water system needs to be greatly improved. Now, sometimes they go without water for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours in a hospital. That is too much. I think NAWIC needs a lot to do. We need a lot to do in the water and electricity supply in the country. There's a lot to be done in that. Agriculture is moving very fast, and we hope to be able to solve a lot of food requirements in this country in the shortest possible time. Because the trend and plans as they are implemented, I'm sure we'll have to reap dividends very soon. Coupled with the Roots project also coming in, we are hopeful that, yes, a lot can be done. Particularly the gardens they're also mentioning, road network accesses to almost rice fields like in Nyanija ends, they are all going to be solved, inshallah, with the projects that we are facing. Because at least we're hoping that an $80 million project, we cannot sit after 6 years to say that those problems in Nyanija are still there. We will not stand to wait for that. May we all live to witness those days.
Very well.
When we will have the road networks in those areas solved, women not dying in the river because they want to get to their rice field to be able to harvest
and women not dying in the hospitals as well because their husbands are not willing to donate blood. I forgot to put that to you. This is something that they emphasize, that their husbands do not donate blood to them. This is sad.
It's very sad. It's very sad, but I will not be able to stand to see a husband who is healthy and capable of donating blood and refusing to donate blood. You know I was part of groups here who were going around the whole region taking blood or make sure people donate blood and we bank it for the hospital. I was part of the team doing that, and we hope to continue the same thing. Definitely, since the thanks would go to the soldier, Malik Boy, I think, who was in Lamenkoto. He was using his soldiers and other communities to donate blood to those people at the hospital. And he made that a routine activity. We really would thank him for that. And the hospital board of Bansang Hospital are doing everything possible to make sure no woman will cry for blood in that place. Be it your husband, be it your brother, or be it anybody, there will always be blood to be able to donate to people.
Governor, we've seen how you keep pushing officials you're working with just to make sure that they give an explanation to the people and get the issues solved. And we've seen the commitment that you've put to it during this past few days that we've spent here. And I'm pretty sure that you have a word of hope that you want to give your people, because you're pretty much on it, and we can see that.
Yes, we are brought here to serve the people. We are paid by the money they are contributing as taxes to the state. You know, the confidence and trust that the president had in me to bring me here is he expects that at least I'll be able to deliver to his people what they need. He expects me and the people here to be able to support the people of the region and to make them live comfortably as any other person in this country. We owe it to them. Now, do you believe that most of the areas in this region have been neglected for the past 50 years? If not, would a country or a community or a village come in front of the satellite or in front of a television to say we don't still have water, we still don't have clean water, we drink from a well with our animals, we have a clinic, it's leaking, we have a clinic, we don't have a maternity ward, we have a clinic, we don't have an ambulance, people will die on horse carts, donkey carts. You would believe that would happen? Is that happening in Brikama? Is that happening in Banjul? Is that happening in KM? If not, why in CRR? So to me, everybody in this country have a right to live equally with any other person. We are doing our utmost best under all circumstances to perform maximally. And if we have an extra energy, extra power, we'll leave it to the people to survive. And we will do this to the last drop of our blood to make sure our people live.
We look forward to that. Governor, it's been great having us in your premises, and many
you.
thanks once again for your time.
Thank you so much for being here, and we are hopeful that it's going to be a successful program.
Very well.
We wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is the Open Governance Initiative. We've been talking to the governor of the Central River region, Mr. Abasanyang, and you've just heard it, that they will do all they can to the last drop in their veins. Till we come your way again next week, this was all we had time for. My name is Fatu Elikamlushi. Many thanks for watching.